one of our parliament houses. It's called the Tuynhuis, T-Y-N-H-U-Y-S. It's Dutch, or I wouldn't say Dutch, I would say Afrikaans, because let's be honest, this language, Afrikaans, it's only spoken in South Africa and Namibia. Largely, that's where you will find it. It's Dutch, which was diluted, because once they started abducting people and bringing them here, giving them instructions, those people did not speak the same language, so their dialect and accent changed whatever they were trying to say, and so it became just a language which they would understand amongst themselves. And the more people from different parts of the world tried to engage them, the more it got diluted. So that's why they just claim that it's an African language for them to be acknowledged as citizens in the later years. So in 1975, they decided to build a language monument after Afrikaans as a language was acknowledged in South Africa, so that they can be seen as citizens, hence Afrikaans, to emphasize that they are in Africa and they were descendants of the Dutch but born here. So that's how it came. The mistake the country made was or South Africa made at the time, was to acknowledge them as people who were born here, the descendants of the Dutch. By doing that, that sparked something else, because they gained confidence thinking that they can get away with a whole lot of things, and they made things worse the next year, which was in 1976. That's when they tried to force their language on black people, so that students at school can take Afrikaans as a medium of instruction, of which the student rejected, to say this is a language of an oppressor, we're not going to take this language. And then South Africa went in flames, because all the material, which is books that were supplied to schools, students ended up banning those books to say we reject this language. And the Dutch, for them to do that, they feared that their language was not widely accepted by the locals, and the British were more relaxed, and the locals were taking interest in English. And that was their fear. It was based mostly on that, because the British were still a large country from Europe, and they are a small country, and they didn't have as much muscle to can take the British one. So that's the reason why. But South Africans rejected that, and yeah, that became now a vehicle to be used for the political prisoners who were already in prison. So that's how that started. Now, if you look at the top of this building, you'll see those two cupids holding the drape. In the middle of that drape, there's capital V, and on each arm there's a letter O and C. And that is an abbreviation for Dutch East Indian Company. So this building is our parliament building, which was supposed to be built, right? The one next to it, it's built by the British, but you get to see it from the front. Okay. So the British took every single material which is on that building. Now that gives you an indication of how much money they spent, because they were taking from the rest of the world. They didn't have that money themselves. They took from us, and took from Indians, they took from everybody, Jamaicans. So the difference in South Africa and the rest of the world is that when we gained independence, Nelson Mandela and those who were there making decisions, they decided to do something completely different from the rest of the world. Each and every country will have a capital city. They sat down and agreed that they were going to use all these areas which used to be South Africa's capital city at a particular time. So all of them at once. So we don't have one capital city, we have three. So, and we use them all at once. So Cape Town happens to be the legislative, and Pretoria the executive, and Free State the judiciary. So all three, they work like that. So when you ask South Africans, which is your capital city, they will name three, not just one.
So what are the three?
Pretoria, which is in Gauteng province, Free State, and then Cape Town.
Johannesburg?
No, Johannesburg is what we call Gauteng, the extension of the province. So when we have 9 provinces, so when we say Gauteng province, Johannesburg is part of it. Gauteng is the greater part of the province, and Pretoria is a smaller section. So the two of them are fused. So it's Pretoria's part of Johannesburg. That's why they just use one name, Gauteng province.
Nice.
Johannesburg it produces more of our gold. Pretoria produced the largest diamond ever. It's called the Colonial in the world, 1,306 carats. No other diamond has been unearthed anywhere in the world. That's why the Colonial, Rolls-Royce is the only company that came to honor South Africa about 4 years ago. They decided to build the most luxurious SUV and they named it after this diamond,
Oh, wow.
the Colonial.
Wow.
You can Google it, you'll see what we have. All right,
Oh, the bird. Sounds really cute.
No,
Wow.
Victoria, it's a city. Johannesburg, it's a city. Okay. The two of them are meshed under one name, Gauteng province. Okay.
Yeah,
when
they
you say
call-
province, they become one.
Some people
Okay,
call
yeah,
Johannesburg
but you can separate them
the
as cities, but
financial
when you say
capital.
province, Johannesburg and
City.
Pretoria are one. That's Gauteng province. But when you say cities, you would say Pretoria, you would say Johannesburg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then this street right here, this is I don't allow cars except for security and stuff. So this is called the Parliament Avenue because of the Parliament buildings. But then if you look at the bottom of the street, there's a white wall here. But you'll see cars passing in front of it. That white wall, it's at the Mount Nelson Hotel, which is the first hotel in Cape Town to have both hot and cold water running into the rooms. We call it the Old Pink Lady. The likes of Michael Jackson have graced the place with their presence while he was alive, and many other celebrities, especially the British royalty. They introduced what they called an afternoon high tea, and they were very strict. To this day, they're still strict with their attire because you gotta put on your tuxedos. You never, sorry, you never know whom you could run in. Could be royalty, so they prefer when people go for the afternoon high tea, they dress up appropriately. That's the place. But then we are also standing underneath oak. They were introduced in our country while the Dutch were coming around with wine. They discovered that they could grow grapes here and produce wine. That was going to help them not to carry so many cases because then they required space for the spices. And as such, when Cape Town was successful at producing wine, they felt the need now to make their own barrels because the country still imports barrels from America and France. Those are the good ones. But then when they introduced the oak trees here to try and cut the middleman, they found out that the climate here does not agree with the trees. And so they grow hollow. They make beautiful properties for squirrels, but then they don't solidify enough for us to can make use of them as barrels. So if we insist on making barrels out of this, the liquids just leak through. They are that porous. So we don't use them, we just decorate.
Oh, okay.
This avenue, it used to be flanked by orange trees and citrus trees, lemon and orange, because the acidic content was used to do away with a disease called scabie that became their biggest problem when they didn't have ways of preserving food. Yeah. So scabie was killing them while they were saving and could not eat well. Now all acidic, that's why they use wine. So acidic content is now in lemon. It used to have alive. That's the reason. Alright, now we go back to the garden. We're going to go to breakfast. There's some stuff that you need to see.
Scabies. I've heard of scabies before.
That's why we call it the company's garden. Yeah.
They always come and stealing stuff. I'm sick and tired of it.
They don't.
The other thing is these two trees that you see here. These are called the Norfolk pines. They come from Australia. The British were the ones that actually brought them with, because they brought a lot of different species of plants, and they were taking those from countries which they had been to, but then the objective was to take them all the way to the Netherlands, to England with them. But then because of the time they spent in other parts of the world, like here in South Africa, they ended up growing them here so that they shouldn't lose them. So that by the time they grow them, they can have some possibility. So these trees, as they planted them here, it was as a result of Captain Cook's request for them to be planted alongside the coastal areas of the globe to help the sailors, because the center pole of the ships, called the mast, used to break. And he found these trees to be a suitable replacement for that. That was just to help with that. Right.
I think that's the tallest tree I've ever seen.
I know. So how old is that? Do you know how old that tree is?
No, I have no idea. But all I know that it's far younger than that one.
Yeah.
Because the garden, once they cleared all the fruits and veggies, now they started putting. So this one, it's more like, one could say, the lungs of the city, because people just come to hang out and refresh, even take breaks or come to eat here. I think they do the same in New York. This would be
Central
an
Park.
example of Central Park, but on a very small scale. All right. Now, do you folks know anything about Cecil Rhodes?
No.
No. Have you heard of Rhodes Scholarship, perhaps? No?
No.
Now, this is one of the earliest British men to start the diamond trade in South Africa. So, companies like, what is it? Because the Rhodes Foundation was done in his name because of Cecil Rhodes. So he actually followed his brother to South Africa, John, who was farming cotton in KwaZulu-Natal. But when the diamond rush started, he decided to come to the Cape. And he had poor health. His lungs were not good enough. He first got stroke at the age of 21, and then much later, when other British people were picking up shovels to dig up for diamonds, and he was sidelined because he couldn't stand the dust. His lungs were affected badly. So being on the sideline, he observed that this became every Tom, Dick and Harry. Everyone was just picking up a shovel, and once they found a stone, they decided to head back home. That's how the British made so much money, because he became much wealthier than the likes of today's Elon Musk, out of South Africa's diamonds. And so, but what really helped him was being on the sideline, observing all this, and then, smart as he was, he decided then, you know what, I'm going to draft the laws that are going to make diamonds, because they are going to lose their value if it's going to continue like this. So he drafted laws that would channel the diamonds to be sold to him, and for him to start grading them. And so that empowered him, and eventually they introduced things like the 4 C's, like clarity, color, carat, and what else did I leave? Well, it will come to me, so I'll mention it. So yeah, basically that's actually got him to be so extremely wealthy. But he didn't end there. He hired also people that could test the soil to locate the belt of diamonds from underneath. So you go to these farms, and once they discovered that the land had diamonds, he would purchase the land, and from then onwards, yeah, he became that extremely wealthy. Yeah. Poor as he was, he can do the job, but he was very bad. He purchased most of the land that we have, especially in the Cape area, for about 9,800 pounds. But then on his deathbed in 1902, decided to give it back to South Africa before he died. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The University of Cape Town is standing most of that piece of land, including the Kirstenbosch Botanical Garden, which I would suggest if you are into plants and you want to see a beautiful space, you should visit, because now that became an institution itself, simply because every single plant there, it's labeled. whichever one that tickles your fancy. If you are into the garden, you can walk to it and read all about it. The objective of the garden when it was established was just to preserve species of plants within the borders of our country. But then it became that botanical garden that, and it came into existence only in 1913. The position of a botanist was availed, and a gentleman called Harold Pearson decided to take us up on that offer. Even though money was too tight to mention at the time, he was just that much into gardening or into landscaping to a point that he decided to give his entire time to the garden. And his only request was that when he passed on, he should be buried in the garden. And they did honor that. Alright, so wait, before we go that side, let me show you something which used to be used openly. It's a bell. When you go to our vineyards, you are most likely to see it. The bells were introduced or used to give instruction to the slaves to pick up their shovels in the morning and start work, and also to down tools whenever it was time perhaps to eat or something of that nature. So this is it. Just wanted to have a look, because when we go into the museum, we most likely going to see it. They used to be in all the farms or all areas where they brought the slaves to work. So this was one of their workplaces because they had to start the garden. They would ring there to get them to start work and do that. But then, funny enough, at schools we we used to, before later they introduced the siren that was now just going from the principal's office. But early days in school, it was that bell. And then the ones they would at least use by hand, someone would walk around. Yeah. But yeah, that
We
was
still use bells
for
in
the
the US.
slaves to do that. But up there we have our other museum, but that one is for people who are interested in studying the sky, the stars and so forth. You can go into that when you have time during the day. If at all it tickles your fancy, you should go into the building right at the bottom. Yeah. Alright, this way. We also have our rose garden. Now they introduced a rose garden in the last section, that side.
So the country funds all this. I see all the who funds all that actually
Oh no, they work for the government.
For the government.
Our say
Agriculture.
municipality.
Okay.
Yeah, and then some sections
Okay.
the responsibility is given to certain sections.
Okay.
Under department to say, hey, you look after this garden.
preserve it.
Yeah, but it's all government.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you work here, you work for the state. Even these guys who are security.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is a sign bio that was given to us by the French government. It just gives the time that the activity got loose. So took it away. But yeah, it's mainly we always switch them off around
Because I just heard the same things yesterday in the street.
yeah.
12, 1 p.m.
Yeah, and then some of them they don't go off, they start flickering, then they indicate that the bulb is almost.
We have this one in the US. Yeah. We have that one. I think it's in the hibiscus family. Very pretty.
Bye, bora.